And
it's
it's
gonna be
longer.
easier to cut. You try to cut with a bread. You just told me you were trying to cut with a. Wait, hold on.
Not a butter knife.
What are you trying to
butter knife?
Bread
I was
knife.
going to say. Wait, what are you? You're trying to cut drywall, right?
Well, what do you
Correct.
put on bread?
Yeah,
Not
no.
a butter knife.
I mean, you could try with a bread knife. It's just like really, really short. Or I'm sorry, butter. God damn it! I'm getting it back. It's butter knife.
Bread knife, not butter knife. Bread knife. I'm about to share an image in our chat, so that way everyone is aware of what it looks like. Ooh.
That's not real.
That is real. That's a lamprey.
No, I meant as a dildo. Or I mean, I guess you could make it a.
If you're brave enough, again.
If you're brave enough, yeah. If you want to.
Oh my god.
Alrighty, now with that note, clink clank.
Wait.
Clunk. Clink, clink. Hello, and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I am one of your hosts, Brent, the Jesterhead Metcalfe. Along to my left,
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
and on my right.
Handsome John.
And we are here, as we are each and every week, to bring you the nerdy video game news and really cool, sexy tech news that is out there. Of course, we are still in our quarantine edition. What number is it? Nobody can know. We can't even look back and figure it out. We don't know how to count.
We
can. We just
Yeah. Part of 4. That's right. It's just part of 4 again. It's just repeat. Because, we're still trying to maintain our social distance. There may be states that are relaxing their security. We are not. We're going to make sure that we do not get sick. Of course, we come to you each and every week to talk to you about all this news, but we don't have time to talk about everything that happens this week. We, of course, don't have time to talk about the fact that Nintendo is starting to shut down the Wii U and 3DS shops in Latin America's countries. We also don't have time to talk about the fact that there is a bug in Fallout 76 where NPCs are looting players when they die, taking their stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And we also don't have time to talk about the fact that Nintendo admits that roughly 106,000 accounts have been compromised. Please check your Nintendo account. Yes. However, we do have time.
An email, to be fair, if it was compromised.
Check your email if you don't check your email that's tied to that account. We, of course, do have time to talk about what we deem here on this very show each and every week, together as one, under one consensus, under one label, what we like to call the important. Yeah, I got ahead of you guys. It's okay. It's okay. One day you guys are going to get it. We're going to start with myself
we just do
first.
it without him. And he can jump when he wants
I'm
to.
down.
Because we got this.
Power of numbers. See, this is how this works. If you stand up to your government, that's what happens. Peacefully. No. Go there and kill. So, we're going to start with my topic of the show this week, and that has to do with The Last of Us Part 2. This is kind of a two-folder. One, it appears that The Last of Us Part 2 spoilers are out on the web. Now, these are pretty significant spoilers, too. They're not minor. They involve some heavy story spoiling, including the entirety of the storyline, the ending. There's even alpha stage footage out there for screenshots and even some videos, is what I have seen people discuss. Now, unlike most leaks, this came from an actual source that is fairly well known. I can't remember if they actually got the employee's name, but it is an employee that worked at Naughty Dog that was having a payment dispute with the company. It was incredibly upset with how they were handling payments and decided to leak all of this out. This comes on the tail of news from Sony with brand new release dates. The Last of Us Part 2 is now scheduled to release on June 19th, with Ghost of Tsushima now being pushed to July 17th. So, with all of that on the table, what is going on in this world? So I find this really frustrating for a lot of people. If you've been on Twitter at all, which is kind of hard to do because you want to stay away from spoilers, but I happen to follow Neil Druckmann, who is the the game director, all right, and a couple of other people from Naughty Dog and PlayStation who are furious right now.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, their point, and I agree with it, is basically, listen, you can be disgruntled and upset, but you haven't ruined this studio. You've pissed off all of the people who worked hard on this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this individual is certainly a little self-centered.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know what the actual dispute was. I don't even know if they had a legitimate claim. It could be, hey, I thought I was getting this money. It's like, who said that? It's like, fine, screw you then. You know what I mean? People are crazy. What are you going to do? We know a few of them ourselves.
Yes.
One's
yes.
tall and gingerish. He's a crazy man. But the thing that makes me, I'm not surprised that there are leaks. I'm surprised from Naughty Dog because they're usually pretty locked up tight. I am not sympathetic to the people who are like, hey, I'm going to have fun and troll everybody and put it everywhere I can. That is also just as much bullshit. I'm going through Twitter and I'm like, fuck, I got to warn Brent. And
Yes, and you did, and I appreciate that.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, no, this cannot happen.
Yeah.
He has waited way too long for this game. Because I know you loved that. So that was another thing. It's not just you. It is a large portion of individuals who not only played it on PS3, played the PS4 remaster, and have loved this game and talked nothing but great things about this game. I can't find hardly anybody who can say a bad thing about it. Now on Twitter, I'm seeing people going, who did look at the spoilers going, oh, I'm not going to give you my money now because F you, this is trash. Don't even know if this is true. They could never have cared in the first place and just looking for the troll hits. And it's like, just go away. But there's nothing you can do outside of putting up some blockers, block everyone that tries to, make it pretty much as safe as for yourself as you can. Just, I wouldn't look at Twitter until June.
Yeah, and realistically, any of your garbage pastime sites, Twitter, 9gag, Reddit,
especially
all these.
9gag. Oh my god.
Yeah, Rest Area is a very popular video game forum. There is an entire thread on Rest Area about the spoilers that involve the stories. It looks like that the employee had a YouTube channel that had been taken down, but the footage was carried over to various other channels before that happened. I'm reading an article by Kotaku. On Kotaku.com from Mike Fahey, who has been around the site for quite some time. He is saying, I have watched the leak footage. If it is legitimate as it seems, it completely ruins many of the game's big reveals and twists. So I, for one, appreciate my good friend here on the show and will be staying as far away as possible from any of these sites. I actually have lots of manga to read, and I've been using that in my free time anyway, so I'll just continue to do so.
So I guess at the end of the show, we can't say to reach out to you on Twitter because you won't be checking it, so...
I will still be available. You can reach out to me on Twitter. I just will very cautiously...
Are put inside of comment sections. That's where most of your danger definitely comes from, because someone's just going to go, well, I can't believe that this and this is such a big deal, and it's like...
Yeah.
Even if you weren't trying, you're an idiot. And if you were trying, you're a douche.
Well, and here's the problem with the whole thing leaking is it's similar to when Avengers released in China, right? They released a week before it actually came out here in the United States. So all of these posts started coming up of like, here's spoilers and no context. But if you know enough about like the actual world, you are able to pick up on a portion of these, or as you're playing through, you pick up on the context before you even get to that point. So it's still like a spoiler. I know people are having fun, but it's just...
Why did they release it in China first in the first place? That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I agree with that. Disney and that's how they make their money. Where's most of their money come from?
China.
Correct. Yes. So this is a slightly different scenario. But I mean, I'm using the spoiler analogy, I guess. Where
it's hilarious that the subtitled version of a movie, it makes more money than the actual dubbed version of the movie.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole other economic talk about how China has moved a large portion of their population to the middle class, and they have money to spend now on these things, so they're making tons of money by doing so.
Well, they can all buy cars now, so yeah.
Yeah, not all, just a lot of them.
Yeah, sorry.
There's still plenty who can't.
It's a valid structure.
Yeah. I'm frustrated for the people who are involved in this. I'm including the employee. Like, I can't imagine I've never been pushed to the point of like taking intellectual property from my company and sharing it. I've never been pushed that far.
The thing that's going to cost them, if it really would push, millions of people away from the story because they're like, oh, this is trash. I'm not spending my money on this. or whatever. Obviously, that has nothing to do with your emotional involvement in the game. You going through step by step, building, emotional bonds with these characters. Like I just got done with Detroit Become Human, and there were certain people that I was, really like, feeling, and to watch them die, I was like, wow, that's rough. Damn.
Well,
The other ones, I was happy. Bye.
Yeah. We've talked about it on this show before. Like, if you take the plot of anything and you put it down on paper, and it's not like you're not actually watching it, it's literally not the script, it's just here's a summary. You can take anything that very well could be a well done movie. Like, Rounders is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Good movie.
It's a very slow, methodical film. And if you were to summarize the plot of that film in a paragraph, you're going to turn away a lot of people. Like, that's just how that movie comes out. It's in the cinematography. It's in the long shots. It's in the cuts. It's in the montages. And arguably, The Last of Us was similar. I actually, the irony of this whole thing to me is that I never played The Last of Us and wouldn't have had it not been spoiled for me. Like, I listened to the IGN spoiler cast that had Brian Altano and Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty at the time, all of them at IGN, talk about this game, and that's what convinced me to play it. But now that I'm there, I don't want part 2 spoiled for me.
Yeah. It's a shame, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a lawsuit coming out from Naughty Dog because they're gonna know who it is.
100%. I mean, they could argue for millions of dollars of potentially lost revenue on this. I mean,
I think that would be hard. I think it would be easier just to charge them probably with a crime more than anything else, just to mess the world up.
It's not exactly it is a crime. It's trade secret, I guess. But the other thing too is he's probably under non-disclosure too, so they can sue him on basis of breach of contract, and based on whatever the damages would be from there. But they could also sue. I think they could sue him on lost revenue. Some people are probably going to get pissed about it and be like, "Well, now I know everything. Why would I buy and play the game?"
I mean, the same could be said for, like Brent said, he had no intention and then heard, some stuff about the game and then he was all in. So, but at the same time, he wasn't spoiled on the ending, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you spoiled on the end when you heard it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was spoiled for the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sad. So do you think you would have appreciated it more otherwise?
It's hard to say because I had no intention of picking it up, like, at all. Like, even with everyone clamoring about it. It's the whole reason I listened to the spoiler cast.
Top 10 of all time games. That's
hands down, top 4. Top 4.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's in my top 4.
I'm guessing it's number 4?
That number rotates around. It's hard to pin that one down.
It's forced to specific.
Well, there was a topic on Twitter one day where people were sharing their top 4 games, and I like that a lot more because top 5 is like, once I start hitting the number 5, I'm like, well, I might as well go to 10, and then become longer lists. So 4 is just very easy for me because it's Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker.
It's not that hard.
Final Fantasy 9, The Last of Us.
5 cookies. I'm done. Oh, I'm not.
Pokemon Summer. I hope you know that when I get to the 5th cookie, I'm like, I might as well go to 10.
That's what I say. I'm like, I already ate one row of the Oreos. What's the rest of the bag?
This double chin ain't going to grow itself. No, I listened to the whole. They have like an hour and a half long spoiler cast where they talked about every twist and turn, and I listened to the entirety of it. I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna go buy The Last of Us.
Yeah,
but that game truly is about the journey. Now, had I not been spoiled, it would have been a bigger gut wrench at the end.
Yeah.
But knowing that ending was also satisfying to me because it was like, I get it. And then I was able to move forward with character choices and stuff. But again, like, that was my turning point. Now that I've turned to that side, like, I just don't want anybody to talk to me about it until it comes out. And June 19th isn't too far away. So I'm very
really
excited
not.
about that. Yeah.
Though,
month and a half.
Being quarantined, it definitely feels that way.
I know. Well, it's funny how the month of March was like, it's never going to end. We're just always going to be in March. And then April for me flew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a snap. I was like, man, what happened in April? It was just my dad's birthday.
I know what happened in April. I got a new job and Final Fantasy VII Remake. So time flew.
No, I mean, like, I didn't have anything major happen. It was gone. Crazy.
For me, it was Valorant. I've been playing a lot of Valorant lately.
I've been
sucked
watching
in.
Stretta play that. Looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But not another possible person who's been on the show before because
Yeah,
that
Tumbleweed did too.
yeah. Please let us know what you
I could hear Tumbleweed. I couldn't watch Tumbleweed because I was watching Stretta.
Please let us know what you think about The Last of Us spoilers. Are you going to go and look at them yourselves? Are you planning on playing the game? Are you excited about the release date? Also, Ghost of Tsushima, less than a month after that.
Yeah.
What is Sony doing?
July 17th.
17th, yeah. Why?
Why not?
Because at least give The Last of Us part, like, it's supposed to be the biggest game Naughty Dog's ever made.
Now it may not matter.
Yeah.
That game is going to be 40 to 60 hours. People are going to crush that game.
That game is not, if that game is 40 to 60 hours, I will be surprised.
Not for Platinum.
Yeah, Platinum, okay, yeah. Because The Last of Us, let's go, I like to use the metric
Last
of
of Us was a 40-hour
HLTB.
game.
No, it wasn't.
The hell it wasn't.
It's an 18-hour game. HLTB.
No,
Last of
to
Us.
Platinum.
To Platinum, it was 120 hours.
Oh, multiplayer. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Add another 40 to that bad boy.
Yeah. Well, most of the time was spent in multiplayer.
Yeah.
Because you could do 2 playthroughs and be done with it.
You can. Will most people? Probably not.
The average playtime for the main story is 15 and a half hours. The average main and extras is 17 and a half, and the completionist is 22 hours. Now, completionist is just doing everything for the story, not multiplayer.
Yeah.
So, 22 hours. So
that's what you expect from Toodaloo 2?
They said it's the largest game they've ever made, and let's do Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4 is like 8 hours. That's not a good break.
No, Uncharted 4 is like 18. It's 15 hours.
Yeah.
According to this HLTV. So 15 hours, 17 and a half, and then 28 for completionist. So my expectation is going to be 20 hours for the main story.
All right.
So I'm starting it on normal. I'm not going to do Survivor right away.
Why not? You love Survivor. It's your favorite mode.
I do love Survivor.
It's the true nature of the.
It is. It's the best way to play Last of Us, the Survivor mode. And I convinced one B Scotch and Dots that is the actual truth of this world, and he believes me now. No, it's just you gotta get your boots wet. You know, you can't just dive into the pool. You gotta get your boots wet.
That's exactly what you do.
That's not what you do. That's when you throw a controller at a screen. I gotta at least know what's coming around the corner if I'm gonna play Survivor. You have to remember, I played the original Last of Us 5 times.
Yeah, I remember. You've been playing
twice on PS3, 3 on PS4.
And you didn't want to get the second one right away.
No, I didn't want to get the first one right away.
Oh, first one.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for the second one. I can feel it in my veins. Yeah. I was ready for May 27th or whatever the date was.
Yeah, all the pushbacks and everything else that happened too, on top of everything else, is just making it worse.
Yes. But please let us know what you think.
We're waiting for a lot of good games to be coming out, that's for sure.
They coming. When's Iron Man VR coming out?
I don't think it was given a date.
I know. The Last of Us was.
Yeah. Well, that's recent. Last of Us and Tsushima, so.
Well, Last of Us and Iron Man VR were coming out in the same month. Did you just shake your head? Okay, doesn't matter. Anyways, please let us know what you think in the comments floating above John like a confused cloud. What did Brent just say? Moving on to Handsome John himself, we're talking about some more PlayStation exclusives. What's up with the Horizon?
I'm getting excited myself. I got a bet with Brent about Horizon Zero Dawn coming out within the first 6 months of the PlayStation 5 launch. Now,
which you could possibly find in the archives of this very show. If you can't find it, it never happened, and I don't know John and Pizza.
Want somebody to go back through the 100 or so hours that we've now have recorded.
He's not gonna do that. He doesn't have that much time on his hands.
Oh no,
he only has one free hand to begin with. Knee slappers. So I'm super excited to hear. There's been a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn news coming out. There was a story that Brent actually put up there that I didn't see originally about Horizon Zero Dawn planning a trilogy. So there was plans and put that they were going to do a co-op game previous to the release of Horizon Zero Dawn 2 that would tie into it, which sounds also very interesting because they were talks about them putting co-op in the first game, and it got scrapped because they didn't have enough time. There was another article actually that was put out of a release of a magazine that was supposed to release this upcoming month, and so it got leaked, and it stated on it that people were getting excited. Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. Now, this sequel is that co-op game that they were talking about, and that just got confirmed actually like 5 minutes before we started the podcast, that this sequel is actually a comic book sequel or prequel. I can't really tell exactly what it's supposed to be, made by Titan Comics. So it's actually people getting excited over nothing. But all the same.
Don't say nothing, because there's some really good video game comics out there.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I mean, getting overly excited for nothing involving the game. The comics themselves, gorgeous. Sure. But not what people want. Listen me Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as fast as you can. But
and by as fast as you can, we mean sometime at the end of, beginning of July, end of August.
Nope, I'm thinking more along the lines of March 2021. Yep.
I think you'd be surprised.
The original came out in February, so 2017. Which, by the way, what's fascinating about this entire story is that since in 2017 to 2018, it sold to 2019, it sold 10 million copies, which is pretty huge. Wow. And they didn't even decide to make it a trilogy until after the success of it on the PS4, which I'm not really surprised of. There was DLC that was put out that was actually really good, and they sent out a complete game with DLC on the store for like $10. So people were nabbing it all over the place.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah,
wow. And that deal was killer.
And if you're on Twitter right now and it's involved anything, you got a PS5 tag or a PlayStation tag, you're seeing a bunch of Horizon Zero Dawn Horizon Zero Dawn snap photo modes. They're all over the place. People are doing really cool things with them. And the rumors now with Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is that the polygons? Is that right?
Yeah.
Terminology would be just on her character alone would overwhelm the PlayStation 4 Pro, which I think is a little exaggerative in my opinion, but that's what someone said. That's possibly total bullshit, but I thought I'd put it out there because I'm super excited for the game. What do you think about the co-op, though?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I find interesting in this. One, the idea of co-op in this game sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'd want to play a story mode as Aloy in that, where I'm an Aloy and you're playing Aloy, but it would appear in my world as somebody else. Like, I'm not quite sure. Bad.
But at the same time, like, it's like Far Cry, for instance. I really, in that open world setting where there is so much to do, and you're just going around doing a bunch of little like side missions and stuff like that, like Far Cry was the perfect game for this. I'll be really interested to see how they intertwine this with Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Now, if they do make a standalone co-op game, which is something that they were talking about, that would also roll into Horizon Zero Dawn 2, it may or may not be involved in Horizon, or it could just be
a separate mode or DLC.
A subtext for Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Kind of like the bridge to get a lot of the information out of the way that a lot of people would probably appreciate. Because half the fun in that game is finding all of the audio files and listening to the story and the story itself. I mean, it is a very compelling story. Not as compelling as The Last of Us, but in the sense of information is power.
Well, it's a great sci-fi story. Video games do good sci-fi for the most part, but I would argue this is probably one of the more original and interesting ones we've seen in quite some time when it came out.
Both in characters, both for the robots and people, which I think is also really cool.
I was just going to say, I think the one thing that I really appreciated about Horizon was the feeling of loneliness when you're out on the road and the feeling of civilization when you're in town, whether it's a small town or the large central city. And I think that only comes from you being Aloy alone. And I would fear that kind of goes away if they put 2 in co-op rather than doing like a separate game.
If I was to guess, the co-op would actually have nothing to do with Aloy.
Yeah, I think so too.
which would be my guess. I have nothing to substantiate that, but that's kind of where I'm putting it at. I wouldn't mind having a co-op game like this because you could potentially change the entire dynamic of the game. How you hunt, the type of traps you set, how you tried to take over camps and stuff like that would be totally different. And I think that your idea of like, well, I am Aloy and the other person is somebody else, skin, like that would be fine with me. I don't think I personally would have an issue with that. Some people might, but you also have the choice to do that. You don't have to do it. This isn't something that's required, so it's cool to have that option.
I think the fear is where you devote your resources, right? Like if you have to, Far Cry is a great example of like those games have gotten to the point right now where they're starting to like reuse assets and maps and stuff because they're trying to build this world where people can drop in, drop out, and then they have to sacrifice time somewhere, right? So where do they sacrifice the time? They sacrifice the time in the creation of the world. They just reskin it and kind of reconfigure it a little bit, and now boom, you're able to do this.
Far Cry 5 and New Dawn was, to me, they used a lot of the app, but they had to change everything. I mean, it was a nuclear. I mean, spoiler alert.
Spoilers for Far Cry
5. The true ending is a nuclear bomb goes off, and that's what New Dawn is. So that's the continuation of the story. There is a lot of assets, but they still had to rebuild all these things and possibly use new ones. It's the same area, so they were still able to use the same landscape, which probably saved them a buttload of time, but it was still completely different in feeling, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So
I think what's fascinating to me is the comments on 2, which is it could be gigantic in scope, larger game world, more freedom to explore.
Yeah, larger in scope. It was massive to start with.
Yeah.
My God.
Well, I think the analog that a lot of people are going to bring up, and I'm going to bring it up here, is, are we going to get traversal that's done similar to, oh my God, I'm dying over here, Breath of the Wild. Like the ability to climb with a stamina gauge that allows you to like grow over time, where you can kind of go anywhere. Your limitations are far less based on video game rules and more about like a systemic world. Are we going to get some of that? Because I think that would be a cool addition to Horizon.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same, it would also complicate a lot of things too.
100%. Hence why it's not coming out till July 2021.
Like my goal, like that, one of the reasons I spent 100 hours plus on Horizon Zero Dawn was not the game itself; it was the exploration. It was me looking for all these nooks and crannies. I mean, I climbed mountains. I'm pretty sure in ways I wasn't supposed to, but I found a way to do it, and I found some awesome sites. Matter of fact, one of them is my banner on my PlayStation, and it's. Like, that game was about being Aloy. I totally agree with you in that stance. It was about being the explorer in this world. So, I don't think it would really matter personally about the co-op, but it'll be really interesting to find out how big they make this game, because I don't think it needs to be that much bigger, in my opinion. Like, the first game was pretty stout and had a good variety of areas and different types of robots. So, I mean, I guess we'll find out what they decide to do with the robots, because as long as the robots make sense for the areas that you're going in and for the area that you're in, that would make sense. I just hope they don't like make it bigger just for the sake of being bigger, or at least give me a faster thing to ride than the other.
So, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No,
he was laughing.
Okay. So HLTB. The main story of Horizon Zero Dawn is Verizon Zero Dawn. That's a post-apocalyptic I don't want to live in. Main story is 22 and a half hours. Main story plus extras is 44 hours. Completionist is 60 hours. Yeah. The Witcher 3 is like a 300-hour game. And I'm not saying that it needs to be that size, but if they could expand the world in a similar fashion where we have some of the original map and then this new map, and you can double the game world size, and you're talking about, make sure the machines make sense for the locations you're in.
The cool thing is PS5, which is most likely going to be guaranteed on solely, because I don't think it's coming to PlayStation 4.
It's not coming to 4. PlayStation has already said there will be no PS5 like title that's also on PS4 from Sony Studios. Their exclusives are going forward.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. The thing to me is the fast travel was super slow, but that was also, I played it on the original PS4, not the Pro, and PS5 is supposed to help that. So again, if they make it that way, I don't mind, because the fast traveling will be a lot faster to where I'm not spending like a total of 3 hours in fast travel time while playing this game. You know what I mean? That was one of the detriments of it, was the campfires, how spread out they were, and how slow the fast travel actually worked.
Yeah, I mean their demo of the SSD for Spider-Man was 30 seconds down to less than 1.
Yeah,
so.
It was like, boop.
Yeah,
it was like, oh.
I think we're gonna have that down. But please let us know what you think about the rumors surrounding the possible trilogy for Horizon Zero Dawn. Let us know what you think about a co-op version. Are you play as Aloy? Do you play as a co-op? Or you play cows?
Well, she's got
Everyone
a boyfriend.
plays cows.
She's got a boyfriend over there she can pull from, right?
Don't do that, please. Let us know in the comments floating above me like an angry...
Or a girlfriend. I'm not choosing.
Yeah, I mean, she can have whatever she wants. Yeah. She can have a machine. That's the spoiler. That's in Horizon Zero Dawn 2. She falls in love with a machine.
Out comes Terminator, and you're
kills
like,
him or not.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Time to move on to our final topic of the show with the dispatcher himself talking about real world Come on, man.
I got to talk about real world stuff here,
I know. FCC won't let me be, so let me be me.
The FCC won't let me be.
I mean,
I'm ready.
The FCC really won't let you be in this one, or they're trying to not let you be you. No. So with coronavirus happening, everyone being at home, a lot of the changes that have happened have brought about, I guess, problems identified that weren't really issues under normal circumstances. So for everyone's context, I didn't know if anyone knew that a third of the homes in the U.S. do not have home internet access.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't realize the number was that high.
Yeah, I've said it like 15 times on this podcast. Do you not listen?
No, I don't.
Oh, bye, Brent.
Oh, hey, he's back. Look at that. So
I was hoping you guys would just roll with it and not mention that I left.
No, it's John ruined that one. So the FCC actually has an assistance program for homes that do not have internet access or cannot afford internet access because, let's say, you're out of work or whatever it is, that kind of thing. And most people fall under Social Security programs where you can get Medicare, you can get income assistance like unemployment, that kind of thing. And the policy is called a Lifeline policy that falls under the FCC. And basically, it's a government subsidy to help you afford internet access for your home because it's considered a basic essential. Now, I found this kind of interesting that this is something that I guess has finally come up because I'd never heard about this before. I didn't realize we had an assistance program to let you get internet access. I'd always assumed it was up to the goodwill of the ISPs to do that. Like Google, for example, offers a free internet tier if you have Google Fiber. Now, you have to be within the 5% of the population that actually has access to internet to be able to do that. But nonetheless, it's an option. And the idea is they were trying to show off, look, you can make this cost effective.
I will say that our state does have a program that takes old laptops and stuff and desktops and makes them workable so that older folks can actually have access to the internet for simple things like email and whatnot, because they don't require a whole bunch of power, that those things will still work.
That's interesting. Actually, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Look at that.
So this plan, the Lifeline policy specifically, is designated for the idea of getting internet access. And most people end up spending that money to help subsidize their cell phone bill. Because that's the easiest way to get internet access for the most part. Like if you don't have home internet access, to get access to that and be able to do everything you do from your mobile phone and still be able to take it with you. It does apply under that. The problem that I identified, I guess, coming into this, and not to get too political with it, is that Ajit Pai and the FCC under his regime are trying to eliminate it. And
who'd have thought?
Now that's been happening since before the coronavirus, but it is still a conversation that's come up by him every now and then through the coronavirus, even to try to eliminate this, when 16 million homes or 16 million individuals have applied for unemployment. So I guess My thought now, I guess the other side of this argument, anyway, that I want you guys to look at anyway, whenever we talk about this, is the subsidy only gives about $9.50 per person to help subsidize their internet access.
Per person or per household?
Per person.
Okay.
I will say dial-up services are about $10 a month, or DSL services. I think like Windstream, aren't they? Now?
Yeah, I think so. You're right.
So that would make sense. They get about 4 to 8 megs, and they're able to do essential things like check up what's going on with their local government. Look up their stuff for their medications and keep up with emails.
I'm going to correct myself. It's $9.25, and it's per household. It is.
That is a weird number to choose, but okay.
$9.25 per household.
Also, like, what it's so there's multiple tiers to this thing, right? You called it a basic necessity, right? Is that what you used? The wording?
I mean, that's the premise anyway. That was the original premise of the program, is that internet is considered an essential service almost to some extent now. So for example, digging lines for it and putting up, towers and whatnot can claim eminent domain if needed, because let's say it provides greater internet service to an entire population, for example. They can do that now.
The problem is that the government, unlike electricity and water, where they regulate it fairly heavily, obviously the ISPs don't want that. They never have, and they try to push out and hard as much as possible.
Well, so
Except
I don't
for
think
Google. I never hear anything about Google.
This doesn't really affect the ISPs that much. I mean, it's a subsidy program that the government provides to help you get internet access.
I just meant government intervention.
Oh, so, yeah. We don't have a utility, right? We have a utility for electricity. We have a utility for water. We have a utility for literally for the basic needs. Mm-hmm. So because we don't have a government utility right now for internet, it becomes a much more troubling and difficult conversation to have.
Which is what the ISPs have been fighting, because people are getting to the point where they're saying that you cannot live without internet at this point in time.
Yeah. Yes.
Because there's so many services that you cannot get access to, especially if you're elderly, without internet. Not
in the middle of a pandemic when the local libraries are closed and you can't get access to a computer.
Mm-hmm. And that was literally the workaround, was that you have access to it because of libraries. Well, now those libraries are no longer accessible. Not only that, but in Charlotte alone, there was actually a news story that I was watching today showing that people didn't have anywhere to charge their phones even to be able to gain access to these public services. They're having trouble they have reach outs that are trying to get porta potties brought and serviced because people have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And they're trying to stop them from literally crapping in the woods and on the streets.
Yeah.
The food, all this stuff. Not to get too far into that, but in the sense that they needed internet to be able to look and see if they can get these funds from the government for assistance.
Yeah, I think without having an actual public utility, it's a troubling conversation, because it feels like there's no leverage from the public aspect, right? There is a ton of people who are large corporation owners or parts of large corporations who are saying, well, we don't want to do X, Y, and Z. On top of the fact that you have people who used to work in those companies who are now in a part of our government who are trying to cut those subsidies.
Mr. Pie himself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. It's almost like I was naming someone specifically. Like, $9.25 isn't a lot, but it helps the people who fucking need it.
Oh,
please do not tell me that $9.25 per household that's claiming this is money that our government desperately needs right now.
And I'm pretty sure you have to be at poverty level to claim this. I think you have to make less than $23,000 a year.
So the information, it was just specified as low-income Americans. For phone and or broadband service.
Essentially what that is those who meet the basic level tier, which I think is it also depends on the state you're in, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I think it's somewhere anywhere between $13,000 to $23,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to me, it's such a minimal amount of money in the first place to be able to do that. First off, I don't know a wireless provider you can go to other than a pay by card system that you could really get access to data, talk and text for $10 a month.
The easiest is for people to get old cell phones and use Wi-Fi at places like Starbucks, and McDonald's, which, God, good luck there.
Well, and I don't think anybody's using this as their exclusive use for getting Wi-Fi. I think the point is they take that $9.25 and apply it to their bill that's actually $40.
Yeah. But I guess the issue I have here is that if this is supposed to be the purpose for it, like the purpose of unemployment is to help you cover your bills in the meantime. The purpose of food stamps is to help you buy food. The purpose of this should be for you to purchase internet access or pay a monthly bill for internet access, whether that be through your mobile phone or through your home broadband provider. But if it's not enough to cover that, then what's the point? Now, Ajit Pai's argument to try to eliminate it is that only 20% of the people that are actually eligible for it use it. I would argue the other 80% probably don't know it exists.
That is actually fairly accurate.
I didn't know it existed until I was until I was just sort of browsing around the news the other day. It was like, huh.
Not only that, but going through any other government agency for assistance is not only like, unless you know how to navigate it, it's like pulling teeth, beating yourself in the face with a brick, all at the same time.
And you need the time to be able to do that.
Yeah. And the fortitude to be able to deal with patients with all the paperwork and everything else. Like, and a lot of these elderly people at this stage right now, there's probably not a lot of people using it because they have no real desire to use it. They have younger people who have cell phones or whatever that are able to help them when they need it, or they're doing those things for them. When our parents' generation starts getting to that point, they are going to need it, and that's when it's actually going to count. Well, because they're enveloped in the technology, they know how to use it, and they've already based their lives around it. Whereas this current gen of older people it's not as important to them.
Mark, is there a stat for like the total amount of money they're spending on this annually? Like the budget for it, I should say?
Not that I could see offhand. Not that I saw in the article offhand, no.
If it was more than $20 million, I would eat my shorts.
Yeah. Like, the argument to get rid of it doesn't make any sense to me, because rather than get rid of it, if you're truly worried about the fact that you're putting money out there that people aren't using, figure out a way to rework the program so it does work, right?
I mean, like, you could work with the libraries to have a computer loan system, or
So, the article didn't spell this out. I'm actually kind of confused now because I'm actually looking at the FCC's website specifically right now for this.
Okay.
Apparently, there's a discount that's applied on the other side for this. So there are cell phone providers and data providers, broadband providers that adhere to this 925 standard.
Oh, see, there you go. It's literally covering people.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what this is supposed to, like how much this is actually supposed to do here, but
apply to this.
Because I mean the speeds are minimal, but I mean it gets you access. The problem is that it's very minimal access.
Yeah, it's anywhere between 2 to 8 megs, and I'm sure that's based on area.
Well, so the speed it's looking at is 20 megabit per second down, 3 megabit per second up for broadband.
That's great.
With the usage allowed to 1 terabyte, that's actually pretty solid.
I mean, it literally was introduced in '96 and probably has not been updated properly since then.
No, actually, they've got an upgrade plan listed here. Let me send you the link that I'm looking at right now, and you can take a peek at this.
There we go. That'd be nice. I'm not talking out my ass here.
Well, we all know what that mouth was for.
But they actually have a rollout plan to upgrade it based on the year. Now, a lot of it is for them to continue to reevaluate from year to year, but there have been increases in the program every single year since then.
So it looks like it's.
So now the only thing I'm curious about is because who is the providers here are done. Doesn't say who the actual providers are.
No, it does not, because I don't think that matters.
It just talks about the bureau, and that's literally quite it. The budget will be $2.385 billion for the calendar year beginning January 1st, 2020.
$2.38 billion.
I better go get my shorts.
I'm
really curious how that works, considering it's only $9.25 a month.
Well, actually, not only that, but only 20.
But what I was going to say is they must be subsidizing the cost outside of the $9.25 that they give you to do that.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Well, no, why do that? Why not just say it's covered?
No, I'm not kind of system that sure, because if you look, for example, at the cost of December 1st, 2019, which is what we're currently under, broadband speed gives you the availability to do 925 for 20 by 3 with 1 terabyte of usage, or you can do 3G or whatever the Bureau determination is. I'm guessing 4G would get wrapped into that as well.
Is that not mobile?
Yeah, that's well. So that the left column there is for mobile broadband. I'm also curious where 1,000 minutes of mobile voice comes in, because I don't know a single provider that still requires you to pay for the number of minutes that you talk.
There's all kinds of them, like what was it, Talk something. You can still go to Walmart today and buy burner phones, basically, and pay by the minute.
So
I hope those never go away, because we're going to need those here later.
So actually, a funny part about the other side of this too, about I guess continuing Pi's like movement to remove this. Him and the rest of the Republicans apparently are trying to make it so that resellers cannot offer service through Lifeline. Only the companies that own the towers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, could continue to offer service through Lifeline. That's what they're trying to do.
Why?
Because it's a chunk of money the government's paying them to subsidize these people. They're making money off of it.
Because they have to. Because technically, to some extent, I get it. Because technically, if you're doing it to a reseller like Boost Mobile or to the Smart Talk or something like that, whatever Walmart's brand is. Metro, like whoever does the reselling anyway and purchases the mobile space from these other carriers, that means you're paying both companies as a government subsidizer to offer the same service if you had gone to the company directly in the first place. And I kind of get that. But the problem is that if the subsidized company offers a cheaper price and gives better competition, even if they're subsidizing the service or subsidizing the physical service, why wouldn't you go with the cheaper company?
Not only that, like these people have built their business off the fact they're piggybacking off your towers, and you have allowed it.
Yeah.
Like if you really didn't want this capability to happen, you shouldn't have allowed that to happen to begin with. Like you can't ask for special privileges after the fact.
Yeah, I think the difference is who you're allowing yourself to pay for, basically, is the difference here. But the reason I wanted to start an argument on this in the first place is should this program still continue to exist, and should it just be extended, or do you guys think it should be shut down? Like where do you guys?
It's antiquated at this point in time. It needs to be relooked at.
I would say I wouldn't shut it down until you have a better solution, but it needs a better solution. I mean, I have argued at this point in time for years, literally, that we need a government utility for internet.
Yeah, but the problem is how do you go about that? And that gets so complicated.
The way that's fine. We need it at this point in time.
So the way that works outside of Philadelphia, and I've talked about this before, where my grandparents live, is the coax cable, the switching utility, the fiber, the telephone lines, everything in that area that would be considered a public telecommunication piece of equipment has been purchased by the borough that they're in. And the companies, the ISPs that exist there, and the telephone providers, the cable providers that exist there, they rent or subsidize that utility or pay for access to the utility in that area. Now, as a result, they've got 4 ISPs they can choose between. And the other benefit that kind of comes, and I'll say benefit loosely, is that if the service goes down for some reason, it's not like you're relying on whatever company that has to individually pay for their utility. Everyone that's feeding into the pot, basically all the ISPs that offer service, all the households that are paying for service that feed into the city's pot or the borough's pot to manage the telecommunications equipment, they can pay to upgrade it from there. And that's solely their responsibility, is making sure the equipment works and making sure that everyone has access to it with enough speed. And that's literally it. You're separating out the responsibility of who owns and manages the equipment from who offers you the service, basically, or who's the middleman for you to run it. Now, the other side of that, too, is that once it leaves the borough, it still goes to the ISP switching centers, and then they're responsible for still tying it back to the internet from there. The borough doesn't manage that. They just own the local equipment, which I don't think is a bad solution at all. I think it seems to work pretty well, not to mention prices are pretty competitive.
Yeah. Well, and that's the key thing, is that you would be able to create more competition right now. It's weird because public utilities create a natural monopoly where the government owns large portions of things, but it also opens up things to be a little bit more competitive from a capitalistic standpoint from certain examples. It doesn't always work. That is true. Sometimes they take over and we get stuck with things like Duke Energy, which is our only energy provider. There's no way around that. We're stuck with them, whether we like them or not, here in the Carolinas.
Yep.
But there are ways where this can work out a lot better. And plus, with a public utility, it's a lot easier to have programs where it is, okay, this $9.25 a month now grants you access to what we consider basic internet, which is, whatever megabits per second, unlimited package at your house.
20 by 3, 1 terabyte. Yeah.
Exactly. You can check your internet, you can check your email and make sure that you get whatever you need to. But I mean, it is antiquated.
The other thing I would say is almost offering Cabo plans. Give them the ability to use wireless mobile, like 3G, 4G communication, that kind of thing, as well as having a home broadband service. Because then you can even drop the data limit or data cap that you've got on mobile stuff to a good extent. Now, granted, it's not very high as it is. It's only 2 gigabytes, or 3 gigabytes this year. But you could still drop that by a good margin for people who are at home, especially if they're in an employment scenario. I mean, they're sitting at home all day, so who needs a data cap on 3G or 4G when you have Wi-Fi at home or whatever? I don't know. I think there are other ways to do this program if we actually got to the point of considering internet a basic human need or basic essential need anyway for communication services. And to some extent it is. I couldn't continue to do my job if I didn't have home internet.
Yep.
Like like that to me would be a very heavy debilitating factor. And having a service like this or having at least basic access would make sense. Or if the ISPs offer a free tier, then it would make sense because then everyone who at least has some sort of physical junction box near them could have home internet.
Well, I mean, we're at the point right now where getting a job requires an email. Like it's almost impossible now.
Unless you want to go into food service, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any of you guys want to go into food service right now?
No.
I'm good.
I would recommend it.
I'll service my own food and give myself food poisoning.
Yeah, there you go.
Anything else you wanted to add before we tidy up this little topic?
No, I was just curious how you guys felt about that. I found it interesting that this exists. If you guys want to look at it,
I did not know.
If you guys want to look at it, fcc.gov/general/lifeline-program-low-income-consumers. Find it in the description, or find the link to it from the article in the description below. I didn't know this product existed. If you guys are in a low-income scenario, if you guys need home internet access and it's available to you, take a look at this. It's a subsidy program.
If you have a problem with it going away, talk to your politicians and say, we need this. Do not give it away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because believe me, at this point in time, they're going to be looking for anything to slash to try to put wherever they want. Because that's what they do.
And if you have Google Fiber in your area, don't bother. Just hit up Google and ask for their free service. They do offer one.
There you go. Also, the link is now officially in the description, floating above Mark like a confused cloud.
Also, if you want, you could just do a Google search of Pi and see that he's a complete piece of shit.
Ajit Pi. Yeah, he can go f*** himself. But thank you so much. Time for us to move on to Last Call.
Last call!
It's always so dragged out because we're all waiting to hear each other.
I'm going to start doing this in Last Call, all right? Because
there's still a delay.
Killing me.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we don't have our wonderful bell. We are sitting at home drinking our own special guests. John, what are you drinking there?
Guess.
Another
bottle of Black Barrel.
The Jameson Black Barrel, of course.
Do you want to talk about how many bottles of Jameson you now own?
Less than where we started.
Yeah, I think he's down to 3, maybe 2. He's down to 2. Yeah, there you go. It's okay. I ran out a while back. What about you there, Mr. Dispatcher?
I'm drinking me some mimosas. You know, this got me some champagne. Got me some Tropicana going on here.
Tropicana, it's all sugar.
It is.
John, your headset, your mic is still up. John. There we go. I was drinking the last of my Good Morning Vietnam, which is from a local brewer here in Charlotte.
God, Good Morning Vietnam, Wooden Robot, beautiful beer. Oh, it's so good. God.
So delicious. I actually got it from the local beer temple here in Matthews because they're still doing growlers, and I want to support them because I love them very much. I've also bought cigars from them because they're still selling cigars, and they are champs when it comes. Like, once again, I go out, I'm in my mask, I got my gloves. They have chalked out areas where you stand in line. They service one person at a time. They're wearing gloves and masks. They sanitize the entire countertop when you walk away. They are taking this very seriously.
Mm-hmm. Are the people that serve you the beer there, are they called beer Buddhas?
I believe they are beer Buddhas,
awesome.
Which is also why they walk around with no shirts on.
Moving
on to weekly reading. I got 3 articles in the description floating above me. One of them is a very gut-wrenching article. It's a long article, but I highly recommend it. It's called The Doctor, the Disease, and the Division. It is about a doctor in Brooklyn who is helping deal with the COVID-19 pandemic in New York and how he is coping with it through the Division 2. It is a very interesting read, and again, very gut-wrenching, but well worth reading.
All right.
IGN did an article this week talking about how Dragon Quest helped spawn an urban legend in Japan. What urban legend? You have to read the article to find out. And one final one that I had to post in there because today is officially the 20th anniversary of Majora's Mask. And so in dealing in that, there's another article from Kotaku about how Majora's Mask still hits hard 20 years later. Such a beautiful game.
Third best Zelda game ever.
I think he meant the first best.
Nope.
For some cool shit, there is a wonderful Kotaku article about a woman who uses a Binding of Isaac mod to propose to her boyfriend. It's really cute. There's a video in there.
I need to look at that still.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I love Binding of Isaac. That is a really fun game.
Absolutely. No locked in and no deal this week. I could not find anything interesting enough to post in here. Not that there aren't deals out there. I just did not feel comfortable putting something here that I did. I have failed this city. That's an Arrow reference in case you're wondering. And finally, our question of the week is, what big life updates are you currently looking forward to? And this could be something you're purchasing, something you're working on yourself, change. And I already have mine lined up, so I can go first.
Go for it.
I am looking forward to 2 big things currently. One of which will be replacing the bathroom fan in my bathroom right over here on the other side of this wall. Because it turns out that the house my wife and I bought, the shower floor for the master shower is broken. It is like cracked. Water is continuing to seep underneath to the point right now where we are causing it to crack even further by taking showers in there. That means wood rot, folks. So until that can be fixed, we need to use our second bathroom with a shower, which has a bathroom fan that broke. So replacing that shower fan this weekend, I'm very excited about. And the other update is fixing the shower. Cannot wait to have that fixed. I got to figure out how that's going to work. I don't know if I'm able to do it myself. I need to call my homeowner's insurance, and if they won't cover it, I don't know.
I'll say if you've got water running down to the wood there, dog, that's some subflooring that's got to get torn out there. That's not fun.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, homeowners insurance covers water damage, right?
As far as I know as well, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have fun, guys.
Good
so
luck
I gotta
with
figure
that.
that out. But those are my 2 big home updates that I'm very excited about. My life updates.
There you go. All right. Mine is I'm saving up for a 4K TV. I want to get a slightly larger one for this room because the 40, though I've had it since college, it's been great.
A long time.
I mean, granted, it's a 1080p. I mean, you've only got up to 4K from there, and high def. So it's time for an upgrade. It just is. Especially I have the Pro. I haven't even been using it to its capability, and watching a game like Detroit Become Human, I know it could look even better. So it's like PS5's coming. I want that. I want a new TV with it. It's gonna happen.
I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. I don't know. The only other like real life updates I got.
Does it vibrate?
Sure.
A lamprey.
No. As I've been living at my girlfriend's house now for the last month anyway, like it's getting closer and closer for us to sort of officialize the idea of moving in. So that's definitely
just change your address on one bill and see how she reacts.
Without telling her.
Yeah. Well, they must have. Oh, it's an advertisement. Don't worry about it.
That's the adult way to handle it.
I live here.
No, that's the big one. Other than that, we're looking at taking a few contracts for some production stuff for remotes, and making some agreements on that. So that's
nice.
It's going to be a new light line of work anyway for some side work and all that stuff, which would be nice. So I'm excited to see where all this goes because this production stuff's blown up a lot more than I anticipated it would.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Look, man, you're looking tired. All right, I'm tired of the moonlighting. This podcast means something. I need you to be alert, awake, and ready. Okay,
At all times.
I can't have you dragging because you're too worried about doing a stream. All right.
Can't have you dragon because you're a dragon.
Ooh, Dragon the Dragon.
Breathing fire.
King COVID.
Bitten fire.
King COVID, indeed. Please let us know what big life updates you're looking forward to in the comments, floating above Handsome John as he takes a swill. Look at that swig. Oh, he's so excited about it. And until next week, cheers.
Cheers.
I'm empty.